Hey gun gamers, Sober Joe with a quick little radio overview and kind of a review as well of what I have and what I use and why I use it. Today's video is brought to you by Orange Juice, Lemonade, and Frozen Falls Vodka. So, radios. There's a couple of different places and ways I could have done this video, and I could talk about this stuff for like an hour and a half, and do a podcast on anything like that. But I decided to kind of keep it to a short description of why you should have a radio on you, when's the time to use a radio, some peripherals that you can get for it, and then kind of a plug on getting your ham license, which is kind of unrelated not to airsoft, but something really neat and something that's come up pretty recently actually with gun gamers. Types of radios. There's a couple of different versions that you can get right now, ranging from inexpensive to incredibly expensive, as well as requiring some sort of licensing. So the first one we're going to take a look at here is your standard Motorola radio. These are, I don't remember how much, we got two of these in a charger, I think for like $40. Turn the knob, the radio turns on. So with the glare here, you have your frequency and your sub-frequency there. And so for those of you that don't know, you pick a frequency, and I believe the Motorola channels are channels 1 to 22, 1 to 21, somewhere in that range. And then your sub channel is exactly as it sounds. You can have one guy that's on 1.0 and another guy that's on 1.5, and in theory they wouldn't step all over each other. There's real technical reasons for why that works, and in fact when Motorola says it's channel 1 to 21 or whatever it is, turns out there's actually a set frequency range the FCC has put out, and that's what Motorola uses. You're actually on 462 point something based on where that range is. Those radios are super cheap and inexpensive and great to get if you want to have an emergency radio on you if you're in the woods and you need to get in contact with your command channel or referees if you get lost and that kind of thing and you need to just have a radio on you. They're cheap, they're inexpensive. If you're playing local games, quick pickup games, or indoor games where you throw within like an arena or something, those are great to have for just quick communication. You can usually get a battery pack for them, like a LiPo or an iCat pack, and then you can just use AA's. I think this comes with a battery pack built into it because I got the charger, and then you can also remove that, and I believe it takes AA's, 3 of them. For MilSim games, I actually recommend that you carry batteries instead of battery packs. They're easier to change, you can keep an eye on the battery level, and when you have to switch, you switch. Next type of radio to move up is the Baofeng radio. Everybody knows about these at this point. So the Baofeng radios. This is a UV5R. Everybody's got these now. Everybody is using these things. The big difference between these two radios are the quality that you're going to get out of the actual transceiver and receiver built into them, the frequencies that you can actually hit on it, the fact that it is programmable, and when you can have a couple of custom different things, and you can change the power output on it. While we've gotten on to power, the more power that you put out of these radios, the longer your distance will be for you to send, but it also drains your battery quicker, so there's a trade-off there. If you're indoors or if you're in a short, small field or your backyard or something, you set this to low power, which I believe is a half a watt or a watt for these, and you're fine. I believe the maximum output on these is 4.5 watts. Now, here's a very key point on this, and you'll have to check your local country's laws regarding these, but at least the United States and the FCC, as a what's called a civilian radio operator, that's someone without a ham license or a licensed professional, such as somebody who's been trained by the firefighters or EMTs or police force, you are not allowed to put above a certain power. We're going to do there's a whole separate video and a whole separate thing on that. You can Google all of this information, but it turns out that a lot of these Baofeng radios are able to put on there's, I believe, 14 channels that are reserved for what's called GRMS, I believe, channels, and there's a maximum power output that you can put on those. Turns out a lot of airsoft players may have actually been doing this technically illegally. You're going to want to check those local laws. There's a license that you can actually get. It's actually not local laws. These are FCC. This is government laws from the United States. There's a license that you can get where I think you pay $70 or something, and you're allowed to operate on those frequencies above a certain power output. You shouldn't be operating, honestly, for airsoft above a certain power level. If you're doing a massive MilSim game over a couple of days, you may want to actually look into that. The last type of radio I want to talk about is actually a ham radio. This is my Alenco DJ G7. This is actually a tri-band radio. These are very powerful radios. I believe that you can get a 5-watt output on this one. I know that the Baofeng radio I'm getting next has a 7-watt output on that one. I will need to have, if I'm operating on those GRMS radio frequencies, I will need to have that license in order to operate above, I believe it's 5 watts. But there are certain things you can do with that. But pay attention, please. Don't buy one of these Baofeng radios for $50 off, Amazon or eBay or something, and then go to the little knob and go, "Ooh, I can put this up to whatever number of watts." That is illegal, so you have to know those laws. I believe somehow we'll find in the description a couple of the local links that you can just easily. We'll Google it for you. You can check out what your power outputs are and pay attention to that. Enough about power. Enough about that. The reason why I bring up that Alenco radio is. If you buy professional level radios, the high-end Motorola radios, Alenco, Yaesu, Kenwood, I'm looking at potentially getting a Kenwood radio, and you're properly trained and licensed on how to use it, you can get the maximum amount of range out of those, the max power, the max everything you need to maximize what you're going to be doing with that, and that's great for MilSim. One of these guys for your backyard games. Okay. Peripherals. Peripherals are interesting because you see a lot of different things that are cheap and usable, and again, this depends on how much money you want to put into it. Also, how much you care about sound quality and being able to hear and talk. So we'll start off with the base limit. I don't have it with me. I think it broke after repeated uses and getting thrown around bags and that kind of thing. But the Baofeng radios will come with an in-ear bud and a microphone that you can plug right into the side of it. The Baofeng radios take a Kenwood 2-pin, which, as you can see here, you have a radio and a speaker, and those are fantastic. They will break on you really easily if you use them repeatedly and bend them and break them and do everything with that. So for $6, I could recommend getting one of these little speakers. These are fantastic. Has a speaker and a microphone built into it. There's your connector. Hang this on your vest. Click it and talk, you're good to go. You don't have to do this. A lot of times we were getting too loud doing this, so we want to click it and talk normally, and it'll pick up your voice. The other fantastic thing about these are they have a spot for a speaker. You get one of the in-ears, which are like $8, plug it into this. Now you can hear perfectly, and you can speak fine, and everybody will hear you on these using the Baofengs. We use that at Red Storm East, and it was very good. A couple other types of real fun peripherals you can get. We got a special place in our house from Black Hawk Down and that whole movie. These guys, these are $25. I think I got this off of Hobbytron. It's another fun little thing where you're actually using a phone, and the quality on this is actually fantastic for the cost. Again, same connector. So I have a lot of, as you can see, I like to run a lot of different things. The last type of peripheral I want to talk about are headsets. And headsets are interesting because you have Matrix and Z-Tactical, and Z-Tactical makes some really fantastic replicas. What I have from them, I do have a Comtac 3 lying around somewhere, or Comtac 2, excuse me. But the ones I want to show you are the Sorden copies, and there's a reason for that. So these are the Z-Tactical MSA Sorden copies. You'll see a lot of guys wearing these. It's the headband version of it, which fits really well into the helmet. I recommend it if you don't want to get the arc adapter and have these hanging around, because sometimes they don't sit flush if you're not wearing goggles, or you're going to be wearing goggles. If you're not wearing other things that can kind of keep them flush to your ear, you really have to bend them and get them into position. They bend pretty easily out. So these are fantastic. They've got a little bit of adjustment to them, and they can go right over your helmet, right over your hat, or just if you've got nothing on, just slip right over, and then you strap them down, you're good to go. These do have slight noise enhancing and noise canceling capabilities. The problem is because it's not the best quality in the world, there's a very slight hum that you'll hear on these. You may not even notice it really, or it may bug the heck out of you. I don't know. But if you're going to get a headset like that, and the benefit to using those is you also get essentially in-ear you get ear protection from the muffs, or one of these push-to-talks. This slides in right there, and that's a TP120 connector or a U174 connector, which I'll show you on the other headset. Those are common. Z-Tactical and Matrix both use those headsets if you want to do your own custom modding and that kind of thing. This has got your Kenwood attachment. I have another one, and these cost maybe $20 or so, that has a 1-pin Motorola. Now, here's the key thing about that. Motorola makes two. a 1-pin, and a 2-pin. Whatever radio you get, start at the radio and work your way up to the headset. That's the best way to go. Or if you really want to, you could work the headset down. But either way, start at one end or the other of what you're doing with this. So those connectors, you buy a headset, you buy a connector, and then you have your radio. They all click in, you're good to go. I wanted to buy the real thing because I spend that much money. Also, I use these when I actually go shooting. These are a legit set of MSA Swordens. I believe that maybe the Super Pro version. These are significantly better build quality by a mile. They're more comfortable. There is no hum. I think the Z Tactical only has maybe 3 or 4 sound settings at the most. This has 5 on button, and then you're up and down. These will noise cancel. We do a slap test where we stick them on and then we slap our hands. That is a little, the Z Tactical are a little slower to respond. These respond instantaneously. I have fired a live shotgun with these before and had no problems whatsoever. I love them. The trick to these, and this is for the real MilSim guys that are really looking to get into advanced comms, this came with a Limos 6-pin connector. I cut this off and converted it to the TP120 so it would actually work with my Z Tactical stuff. Turns out these are real. So the microphone, I have to double check the information on this, but the short version is there's an active and a passive microphone you can get for these. You're getting heavy into sound systems, which I did when I was back in college, but basically the Z Tactical ones are not an active system. They are just a pass-through. You press the button, it makes the connection, you're good. Those require you to actually have a small amplifier that's powered by your radio that then amplifies the sound. Unfortunately, using the legit headset, I can hear pretty well. I can't speak that well. I have to yell into the microphone and really shove it into my face to have anybody else hear me. So I'm just going to invest in a legit... I could actually replace the microphone. I've said screw that. I'm buying a real MSA push-to-talk, which is tagged by Nexus. I'm not sure if that's a sub-company or if it's called the MSA Nexus, but that's the push-to-talk I have to get in order to make it work. I should be able to use it with the Baofeng, however, because these come in a bunch of different attachments. So it's the TP120 to the Motorola or the Kenwood or whatever it is, but you only get one of those. So I have to kind of pick. If I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And if I decide to upgrade to a ham radio or high-quality radio coming from that, and I already have the Kenwood 2-pin for my Baofeng, I'm going with a higher quality Kenwood radio. I don't really get an option from that. I'm not buying another $100 to $180 push-to-talk. So, wet my whistle here. Last thing I really want to go over is how to use the radios. Well, that's weird, sober Joe. You must be drunk. You press the button and you talk. What I mean is when you're out on the field and you're actually playing. We have a few former military players that we play with from time to time, and they'll tell you that the most annoying thing in the world is a kid with a radio who has never really used them before and is doing this. Hey, Squad 2, they're coming up on the road. There's like 4 of them. I think one of them has an AK. Yeah, you're gonna wanna move. And okay, there's another one. You see how you kind of start rambling with the radios. This is a common thing. I did this when I first, started using a radio. One of the guys from Executive Outcomes will tell you I was real bad on comms when I first got into it. You can sum that up to, if you want to tell a squad, if you have comms in your squad, if you're, let's say, the spotter team, you can cut that down to Alpha Team, contact here 11 o'clock, between 4 and 5 hostiles, hold for additional info. With that, it's a lot shorter. It tells them exactly what they want to know. But you have to work that out with your teammates. You have to work that out with the people that you're playing with. You may not want to even do that if you're playing with people that you haven't played that much because, you're trying to listen for different things. Typically, for the MilSim stuff, you want a comms guy. You actually want a radio man who's paying attention to the command channel and who's paying attention to the squad channel and can kind of communicate between the two. It actually makes it really easier on the platoon or the squad leader to see what's going on, pay attention to things that are going on around him, and if something important comes from the refs or from the command channel, that can get passed along evenly and smoothly. Let's see, I have a little list of things that I wanted to talk about. Platoon versus squad versus command channels. So if you have these little radios, this is all you really need for even at MilSim games for comms. For squad, you shouldn't be any further than a couple of feet away from your guys. If you get out, you're going to be all square and concise. Actually, at the cost, now that I'm really thinking about the Baofeng radios, for the cost between the two, get a Baofeng. just get a Baofeng and don't mess around with it. So the Baofeng also comes with you can buy programming cable, and there's a program called Chirp. This is all available. I'll put it in the links. Program called Chirp that you can use to basically pre-program the Baofeng however you want to match up with whatever channels you want. So you can get a file, I think it's a QSC or QZC or something like that file that loads into Chirp, and then you load it into the Baofeng radio, and that's it, you're done. Your channel 1 is now one for Motorola, which is 462.52 or whatever it is. So that's the Baofeng radio. For the higher, if you want to do higher power, if you want to have a longer antenna, if you want to be able to reach and punch out a little bit more to get to command channels, being in contact with command can be very important. At the Red Storm Use game, it was really great for us to be able to communicate that our team, Rangers, had found the objective, and so the command channel knew exactly what was going on. That was great. It's also good to be able to get in contact with emergency channels, the referees, EMTs, anybody like that. If someone gets injured, if someone gets hurt, especially in these large-scale MilSim games on a mountain course or out in the woods, if someone gets hurt, it's going to be good to be able to immediately relay that back so they can get the assistance and the help that they need. Batteries and charger. I recently found this out. My Baofeng radio is dead. Both of my batteries are dead. I have one of these short, let's see, this is an 1800 milliamp battery, LiPo, and I have a 3000, I think it's 3000 or 3800 milliamp long battery for these. In my move from Rochester to where I am now, I did not charge them for a while, and as any and all LiPo batteries, if you don't keep them with some baseline of charge, they will fail and you won't be able to charge them anymore, so I have to actually buy a new battery. Being me, I'm buying an entire new radio. So that's something to really pay attention to, is the difference between using a pre-charge charge pack, whether it's LiPo or nickel metal hydride or whatever, or if you can just plug batteries in. It may actually be better for you to spend the money. Even on rechargeable batteries are not a bad thing either. But just to take a look here, yeah, these are nickel metal hydride, so these haven't failed me yet. Meanwhile, the LiPo batteries have already crapped out on me. So I think that's pretty much it for right now. We're going to be, we could do, like I said, we could do a ton of videos on radios, how to use them. If you're interested in getting your ham license, usually a local college will have the license for, I think it's between 15 and 20 bucks. They change the test stuff every couple of years. 10, 15 years ago, you had to know Morse code. When I took it, you didn't. Having the ham license is actually really cool. It's a totally different topic, totally different radio. But for real serious MilSim players, take a look at getting the GRMS certification that you need. I think it's like I said, $7,800, something like that, that allow you to operate on some of the channels that we may have been operating on without realizing it, not completely legally. As long as you're not putting out too much power, you're probably not stepping over anybody else's channel, so that's not been a big deal. But like I said, if you're buying these Baofeng radios and you don't know what you're doing, and you suddenly crank the heck out of your power on channels that we're supposed to be on, but not necessarily at that range, we could seriously cause some problems. Take a look at the ham license, take a look at that, they're easy to get into. And I think that's pretty much it. So one more thing, Gun Gamers now have their patches that are available from our Facebook group if you're interested. Thank you very much for watching the video, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.